What is good, guys? It's Ray J back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's going on with Tesla, SPY, Nvda, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. I'm going to break down what the news is saying about Tesla, what economic data just came out, and all of this could affect the share prices of these different companies moving forward. Before I break anything down, all this information, before I get into any more details, let me just mention a couple of things. I am firstly not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please smash the like button if you want to see more videos like this. It not only benefits me, it benefits the entire community as a whole. So anyways, let's break down what's going on with the charts so far. Looking at Tesla's looking relatively weak, down 4.3% as of right now. And it's about to approach some critical support right at the 200 EMA on the daily time frame. SPY is a little bit down, kind of shopping around, but there's a little bit more selling than buying that's bringing SPY down a bit. Same thing on the QQQ, just by a bit. And then looking at Nvda, it's kind of flat right now, and Apple's also a little flat, but it's been dropping for, I would say, more for the day. So we're going to be watching some key levels on these different stocks. Before I break this down, though, I want to talk about some data and also what's happening with the news affecting Tesla. So for the data, just as a reminder, okay, we had the bill auction data coming out. This was once again very close to expectations at 11:30 a.m. Then we had the mortgage rate data coming out today around noon for Eastern Standard Time. This is very close to what we saw from before, not really causing anything too crazy for the markets. Throughout the day, we saw lots of Fed speakers. We saw Mester giving a speech, not to mention Barr, and many of them are saying that they have to wait and see what the data is suggesting. Some of them are saying that the Fed should just keep rates as is, but other ones are saying that it's still too early to tell and inflation is still too high. So very mixed views. Overall, it's not really causing a massive move from the markets just yet. And then for Friday, which is tomorrow, we have the housing data coming out in the morning. Then we have more Fed speakers. We have Barr, Collins, and Daly, and another one all giving their speeches. We'll be listening to them very carefully to see what they say. Now, for Tesla, we have some good news and also some not so good news that came out. The good news that came out is that the FSD presents billions in growth by 2030, according to many different firms out there. This was something said from Goldman, which is great news for Tesla, as Tesla's had a pretty good week. Also mentioning that Tesla has immense growth potential and their full self-driving technology is going to be massive for revenue generation. I agree with their points, and this is very good for their longer term futures. However, for the short term, we got some negative news, and this was involving Elon Musk. He's no longer listed as the speaker of the APEC. This is very, very important because the views of what he said are very mixed. Now, on this channel, I can't really show you what he said. I don't really want to do that because it puts me at risk. I don't really want this channel or this like video to get demonetized. So I'm not going to talk about what he said specifically, but the truth is, here's the honest truth. The guy says things that could be taken out of context. At the same time, sometimes he could kind of like say things that lead to controversy. That's like my view of Elon Musk. He says what's on his mind. He tends to speak the truth the large majority of the time. But the truth is, sometimes his remarks could lead to lots and lots of different perspectives. It could lead to a lot of hate, and it could lead to him looking a certain way in the eyes of the media. So the media loves to take things out of context, and sometimes there could be truth behind some things they say. So whether or not Elon Musk was saying something horrible or not, involving like one of his latest tweets, that's up to you to decide depending on the context and etc. Many people are interpreting it as something very horrible, and that is the truth. That does not truly guarantee he meant it that way. That does not guarantee that he's at fault. But the honest truth is, guys, if there are going to be like millions of people that interpret something he says that way, and this leads to different consequences, such as what we're seeing right here, this is negative news for any company. This was negative news for Tesla, and this may have contributed a bit to the selling that we're getting. So it's very important to look at this. The news basically said this right here. I'm not going to like read it. I'm not going to show you the tweet. I just wanted to call this out. I'm not saying it's true. I'm not saying that Musk truly said this. I'm not saying that he also didn't say this. I'm just saying that this is what the news is saying, and it's not good news. And honestly, it may or may not be the truth. So we'll just wait and see. You could review this on your own if you want to just find more information about it. I just don't really want to mention too much about it because of how it could affect this channel. Anyways, now let's just talk more about what's going on with the different levels and how Tesla's looking as a company for its share price and etc. Fundamentally, Tesla is still strong for the long term, as the FSD technology suggests, as Goldman was pointing out. But for the short term, Tesla's looking kind of bearish right now, and there could be more downside coming. As far as Tesla goes, it's coming down. We're actually approaching this 232 support, and we're just kind of trading sideways around here. If we lose this, we have a very critical support ahead of us on the daily time frame. That is going to be right here at the 200 EMA at this 230 level. If Tesla breaks this going into tomorrow or beyond, we're most likely going to come down to fill this gap at 224. We're going to see more downside if Tesla loses that 230 support. If Tesla holds on, it could try to just rebound and try to trade sideways around there. But make sure you watch 230 very carefully. For resistance, we have the 50 EMA at 233.36, and above that, we have 235 to 236. Then we have 238 and 240. We're going to be watching these resistance levels just to be safe. And it's very important to be watching for how things are looking, at least as time goes on. So for now, Tesla is right now just looking kind of weak, trading a little sideways in this lower range right here. There could be more risk of downside if the market starts selling off more. Just know that Tesla's looking kind of weak and the technicals are not looking the strongest for the stock, especially if we close very close to this level, because on the daily, we look more bearish. So you just want to be very careful when trading and looking at Tesla. For SPY on the daily time frame, we're looking a little weak as we're forming another doji as of right now, but we'll see how this closes if we get an end of the day sell off or not. On the 4-hour time frame, we're losing momentum. It's turning a bit more bearish. On top of this, SPY is continuing to just trade sideways. It could start sinking lower, though, because of the fact that on the hourly or even some of the smaller time frames, you could see this head and shoulders like pattern that's becoming stronger. We have a left shoulder here, a head, and a right shoulder, and it's looking weaker on the MACD. Now, this is very important because my view could shift. I could turn bullish for the markets if SPY gets above 452. As of right now, we failed to do so and we're looking weaker, and it does look like it may favor the downside. So on SPY, I'm going to call out some important levels. To be bullish, we need to break 452. We're not really too close to that. And if anything, it struggled to break and hold 450. You can see the resistance is getting tougher. So if this thing starts selling off, watch 448 as key support and then watch 447.5. If we lose these supports right here, this thing could start selling off a lot more. But if it manages to hold this level, it might just kind of shop around here. If anything, because there's a head and shoulders like pattern, because SPY is struggling to hold 450, and because we're starting to turn on some indicators, the odds are favoring more downside if we end up breaking support, especially that 448 to 447.5 support zone. I could see more downside. I think that the odds favor that looking at the head and shoulders like pattern. On the QQQ, we're seeing something very similar developing. We have a head and shoulders like pattern as well. We have a left shoulder ahead and the right shoulder developing. But the QQQ is a bit more resilient thanks to Aapl and Nvda, especially Nvda. If we're really bearish, you want to see it lose 383.5, and that's when it's going to start sinking. To be bullish, you want to see it make its way back up to 388. Right now, with the head and shoulders right ahead of OPEX, this is, in my opinion, looking more bearish. The formation looks more bearish, and the odds favor it eventually breaking down. If you see 382 break, anticipate 380. It looks like it could start sinking in the future. For Nvidia is holding up decently. It's trying to push up a bit, but just know that it's hitting this tight resistance right here around. We have some resistance right here around 493, just around that area. Also 495. I was talking about this thing rebounding this morning. I also said that yesterday it might rebound a bit and then reject. It came back up, but it hasn't rejected just yet. But there is a risk of this happening because of this current structure. This is looking like a possible head and shoulders like pattern. It depends on if Nvidia breaks. So watch 490 as key support. If we lose this, watch 488, 485, and 485 is going to be key. If we lose 485, it's going to start sinking even lower, and this thing is going to start dropping more hard. So make sure you watch those levels very carefully and see how Nvidia does. There is a risk to the downside if it ends up rejecting off this 493 to 495 area. So far, it's been rejecting around there. All right, so Nvidia has some weakness. Watch the levels and just know there could be a rejection coming. And finally, for Aapl, I found something very interesting on Aapl. If you want to be bullish on Aapl, you want to see this thing, try to get back above 190 and hold it. If anything, we tried to break out, we failed, and Apple's kind of shopping in the 189s. So it's very important to look at this because Aapl has this gap over here. You can see Aapl has a gap below right here. And this gap is just at about 188 flats. I believe we're very close to the low 188, close to our 20 EMA. If Apple loses 189 and it fails to break back above it, because today we kind of came below it and came right back up as buyers are defending. But if it keeps sinking, it looks like it might come down to fill this gap and maybe break down. There's also another gap somewhere down here around 185. So since Apple has like this head and shoulders like pattern, and also Apple had tight resistance between 190 and 191, if Apple starts sinking it like tomorrow or beyond, we could see this drag the markets down. So you see, we have a triple bearish divergence still developing on Apple. This is actually becoming a quadruple bearish divergence. So I think this might drag the market down if we truly break 188. So we'll be watching for that just to be safe. There's a risk of some downsides, so just be very, very careful. With that being said, guys, the market is still kind of stuck in its range in the 449s, but just know it's kind of struggling to try to break that 450. We have some tight resistance up there. And this overall trend, we have a head and shoulders like pattern. It favors the bears a little bit more. So we'll be watching to see if we get a break to the downside or not, especially going into tomorrow with all the options expiring. All right, guys. So Tesla's looking weak as of right now, weaker than the markets. Watch resistance. Don't forget to be watching the 233 area and 235, and that key support is going to be at 230. That's going to be very critical for Tesla. We'll be watching these levels as time goes on, and just know that even though Tesla's looking weak, tomorrow could be a new day. So we'll be watching to see how it goes. Let's just see where it closes before I give you guys another update in just a couple of hours. All right, so that's it for this one. Thank you all so much for listening. As far as the Elon Musk situation goes, like I said before, I never said that he said anything wrong or right. I'm just not going to like make too many claims about it. Just know that what he said is, leading to some negative notions from other individuals, other news stations, and that's going to affect Tesla inevitably. All right. So it is what it is. All right. What he's saying could be taken out of context. Maybe it's happening right now, maybe not. But whatever happens, the long term is still bright for Tesla. The short term may look a bit more bearish, but watch supports just to be safe. All right. That's my view. Thank you all so much for listening, and I'll see you guys very soon. Thanks again, and peace out.